Hello everybody, welcome back to the next Geek Horizons podcast, where we take this little magical hat here, pull a topic out, and talk about it for 30 minutes. 30 minutes is over, the topic stops. However, we do tend to go on a bit of a tangent sometimes.
He ain't lying.
I am Blue, and with me is...
Faison.
And...
Aaron S.
And once I get this timer set up, I'm so behind. I'm going to pick the topic this time around.
You literally had one job.
Technology.
I had 2 jobs. I'm holding a hat.
And he's shaking
Set it on the table. Please don't pick
What's
one.
he got? Oh, one of mine.
2.
Which one? Which one's
Left or right?
Left.
Right.
Left came first. Hello, it's one of mine. This is when I initially let the idea of a podcast out. This was what I was saying would get us talking for hours.
Oh boy.
Shit.
This should be good.
World of Warcraft.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Little backstory. All 3 of us played World of Warcraft religiously for a while in our lives.
Definitely.
I'm the last player.
Only because everyone else left.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm the last left standing.
Yep, and I was the first one to come in, then I got I got Blue, and I got Faison into it, and good memories. A lot of good memories.
Man.
Just in general, World of Warcraft. Not even a specific topic.
Yeah.
Just World of Warcraft. Where's it going? What has it been?
Well, we know Warlords of Draenor is about to come out.
And a lot of people are hyped about that.
Yep.
Yeah, very. Although I will admit, of opening cinematics as far as they go, Warlords of Draenor is probably the
Most
least,
underwhelming?
The least
Yeah.
impressive.
Like, what's new about it? What's like new content?
So basically, you guys all played in BC. You guys know what Outlands looks like.
Yeah.
So they're revamping the entirety of Outlands, but
They're
Outlands,
cataclysming it?
no, they're actually keeping the original Outlands because this is going to take place in the past. So.
Oh, so this
Outlands,
is... Oh, okay.
Outlands itself, or at least from what I understand, is taking place in the past version of Outlands.
So this is back when the orcs and the Draenei were still fighting each other.
Yes, at least that's what I understand so far.
Okay, so
so Outlands itself, the one that we know already from Burning Crusade, is still going to be around. I think you'll be able to access it from the Caverns of Time portals, which is good, so that you can still play those quests and go to
I
those
saw
dungeons
the
and stuff.
I saw the revamped Draenei face, and I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, they're revamping all of the original
Character designs.
Yeah, which is about time.
So, with the exception of Pandaren, because they're already
new and look awesome.
they already have their new
They
models.
look fine.
And I think Worgen and Goblins.
Those look
however,
fine too.
however, the human version of the Worgen,
Obviously.
they're obviously going to revamp that.
yeah.
So far, I mean, all the character models look really good. The female Draenei looks a little.
I've seen controversy about that.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but I've
She has
heard
no
that.
chin. She's completely missing a chin.
Chinless, eh?
It's very strange. It's like she goes nose, mouth, throat. And that's
Yeah,
it.
I've seen pictures.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And the funny thing was there was a fan-made version that looked a lot similar to it that people were like, oh, that's horrible. It came out on April Fool's, and they're like, oh, that's horrible. God, they'll never make anything like that. And
Yeah,
then
they did.
then they released the final version. It's almost as bad.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So that's the future of expansions.
Yeah, although they said at BlizzCon last year that they already have pre-planned the next and further expansions.
Are they revamping the old raids by any chance? Like Karazhan,
I don't actually
Steam vaults.
know. The thing I've actually been focused on is the new garrisons. It looks really neat. Basically, you get your own place. You as an individual, you get your own place, and you get to set it up. You get to make it. And it allows you to kind of hook into professions that you don't actually use. And so that'll be really nice.
That's a good idea.
And you get to upgrade it as you go along. I mean, it seems pretty cool. I mean, they kind of did the same thing in Mists of Pandaria with the tillers, the farmland that you get.
That's all I did by the time I was leaving.
Yeah,
It was like all I did was I logged on, I harvest mooned it, and then I left.
Yeah, you slowly got to progress it. And
well, I was a master chef in World of Warcraft, so
You
I
were,
needed that.
You're always a
You
cook.
were
I
always the
needed
one
that.
who
He's always the cooker.
I was like, grow vegetables and send them my way for the raid.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I'm just making beer.
Yeah. Yeah, I was more or less.
My
the
dark blue
closest
stout.
thing.
Now I always wonder like how the future of World of Warcraft is gonna go, you know, because like I left, I took a hiatus. Like
You left in Cataclysm.
Yeah, I left at Cata, and I had left like right at the beginning of Lich King. I didn't get involved with Lich King. Then I came later on.
Which is a shame because most people believe that Lich King was probably the best of the expansions.
That's what I was going to ask. Was what do you think? What's your favorite expansion, or if vanilla is your favorite? What's your favorite part of World of Warcraft?
Mine is still Burning Crusades. I mean, that's when I was the most prominent raiding. You know, later on I didn't really care. It was Warcraft for me. It was about people first. Because when I got into it, a lot of my friends were playing. And then I got you guys involved, and all those other friends got involved with it too. And it became this great community. And you wanted to team with each other. So then as time progressed and people changed, you know, we had a few deaths. Some people died.
Yeah.
And it just, I couldn't look at it again. Because it just brought back too many...
I could honestly say that I think Cataclysm was probably the death of the real community feel. Because once they added leveling to guilds, it just killed it. Because you no longer had that close, tight-knit community that you guys all were banded together and you'd go on raids and battlegrounds, and it was fantastic. Once you got to leveling guilds, people just mass invited people, and you really lost that community feel.
Yeah.
As much as it helps, and I don't regret utilizing it every single time I played, looking for group and looking for raid killed the community. Because you couldn't just you used to have to go into Stormwind and shout out, I'm looking for help in this dungeon. Who will come with me?
And
but now you're just I'll just click this and then go make a pizza.
And whoever,
honestly, I liked looking for group, but looking for raid, that was a bad.
I think that was exactly because when it got to the point
I understand what it wanted to do. There's a lot of us.
It made it easier for people to get into raids who could never get into a raid because before that I'm nobody's taking me.
Yeah, they kept it at such a low threshold that, I mean, if you do LFR and then you go into a normal raid and you think that you're prepared, you are not.
No, you're not. Not by a long
and that's
shot.
okay.
Which
you
I
can
do
still
appreciate
go
that.
normal mode and heroic with your guild, and that's great. But if you're like me and all your friends left WoW and you're just out there by yourself, LFR actually turned out to be it's a nice way to see the content. I don't want to do it more than once, but it's nice to be able to see the content.
because when you do it once, it's kind of
I mean, the raid doesn't change. It's the same thing all the time. Same with dungeons, they don't change.
And because when I started up, it was still vanilla WoW, and there was something I always held on to that idea that you need to learn fights. You can't just go in and you're going to one shot everything.
Yeah, you can't face.
There's coordination and there's tactics and there's real things you have to do in it, and I just love the old feeling of a raiding guild, especially when it was with people that you all knew each other well, and you could really work off each other well, and it was always a fun environment to be in.
The last time I had that was Wrath of the Lich King. I had a guild that, I mean, we all, knew each other, and we knew each other's lives, and we knew what was going on, and it was so nice. It was, I mean, we understood each other so well, and I mean, there was a few times we fought and stuff, but it was nice. And in Wrath of the Lich King, the raids were still progressive. There was always that gear check boss that, you fight the first one, you beat it, and you're like, oh, wow, we can do this. And then you get to the gear check boss, and it whoops your ass, and you're like, oh, God, we got to find more gear.
So many of those frustrations where you're on a boss. It's like DPS isn't DPSing enough. Tank isn't tanking enough. Healer's not healing enough.
Yeah,
but you know what?
There's always that gear check. But Cataclysm was strange because the dungeons were so much harder than the raids.
Well, yeah, I'll never forget that. Just because tanks got all this extra health, but healers didn't change.
Yeah,
so you couldn't
healers
compete.
Were screwed in Cataclysm.
So then it gave back to that because I was talking to my buddy Chris, from across the street, who's an old vanilla WoW player, and he was on one of the top raiding guilds on the time. They were one of the first people to take down Sunwell Plateau, from what he's told me. And anyway, it's just I hear his stories about WoW, and it's really interesting because I just really feel like the experience is the same, but the gameplay starts to change around a bit because he's back in those old days you had to mark everything. It's remember back beginning Cataclysm you had to mark everything.
Yeah, and that's another reason I think that Wrath of the Lich King was the best expansion was because that was the last time when
The features of vanilla were present.
Yeah, you still had that little bit of vanilla left that the original players felt like they still had the game they started with, but it was also new enough and fresh enough to get new players into it, as well as make old players feel like it was progressing.
Not to mention it had the best plot.
Yeah, true. And Cataclysm, it was useful for redoing the original world, and that was great because the original
it needed an update. Even though I was sad, it needed an update.
The original quests were really lacking story-wise. Nothing felt connected. There was no flow to why you moved on zone to zone.
Can we talk about story next about World of Warcraft? Because I'm not sure if we've around the table we've read those books, right?
Yeah, we've read the books.
And I got to tell you that World of Warcraft has, I think, one of the best fantasy stories.
Oh,
around.
yeah.
The best mythos.
I prefer it over Tolkien's Lord of the Ring any day.
Oh yeah, it's got a phenomenal story. It's got a massive, massive backstory, and they're constantly progressing it. I mean, these characters live their lives as we move on in the game, and that's fascinating. I mean, even just Thrall, like his backstory to where he is now is beyond almost any character I've seen in any game ever. It's just constantly progressing.
And vanilla, he's just leader of the orcs.
Yeah, I mean, he comes from the humble beginnings to rises as a leader, and now he's one of the absolute world powers.
And I loved the story how he became a shaman.
Yeah.
Like, he has to go back to Outland and learn the ways, and he meets his grandmother. That was such a great story.
Exactly.
And
it wasn't just him being like, okay, well, time to go be Major Shaman now. No, he had to really go back and learn it. It was incredible.
It also, the last podcast we're talking about, we're talking about female characters. I think Warcraft's got some of the strongest female characters. I mean, Jaina Proudmoore, talk about someone who really, with her relationship with Arthas, and
relationship with Arthas, her relationship with Thrall and her dad.
And the leader of the Blue Dragonfly.
I'll admit, I think Mists of Pandaria actually might have been worse for her because they turned her from a very strong and level-headed character to she's almost a bit abrasive now. She's kind of annoying, but I mean, I understand they destroyed Theramore. I mean, they destroyed her home, they destroyed her people.
I remember that was the first event thing that they were holding.
Yeah, that was the first.
And I remember doing that.
That was the release of the scenarios. That was the release of the scenarios.
Yeah, you see, because I had read the book that came out right before Pandaria, and it was about how her home was destroyed and everything leading up to that with the Blue Dragonflight leader becoming her romantic relationship.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, it's great to see her character progression, but instead of making her stronger and making her kind of more of a leading character, they put her in the lead but took away a lot of her personality.
She seemed a little bit more bloodthirsty.
Yeah,
she wanted
uncharacteristically bloodthirsty.
She wanted. I mean, we all want Garrosh Hellscream's head, but she wanted it on a silver plate, and she's gonna feed it to DMs from hell. I mean,
nobody likes Garrosh. I mean, he's screwed up the Horde so much. I almost left because after all you guys left WoW, I turned Horde, and
I was half Horde when playing the entire time.
So I finally
my level 90 Death Knight Tauren named Heck.
Yeah,
or my Shaman Shamertime, which Phazon gave me the name. That was my favorite.
For him. Stop
Shamertime.
Yeah, I went Horde and I just loved it to death. But once Garrosh took over, I was like, you literally ruin everything that I loved about Horde. The whole reason that I loved the Horde was because you had these bestial and these barbaric races that were nothing like the way you remember them. Mm-hmm. They were actually just this group of people that just needed to work together in order to defend themselves and keep their homes, and it was so different than what you originally read about orcs and trolls.
Because Warcraft has a story where, for the first film, the original script for the new movie they're doing had the humans are good, the Alliance is good, the orcs are bad.
Which is shit.
And it was Sam Raimi originally was producing that one. And then the new script, which I think is much better, I always wanted them to do it, is both sides are even. No one is really good and no one's really bad. Both sides have
they both
their
have
faults.
their goods and bads.
I mean, I love Varian Wrynn, but man, he's been a dick in the past. He's done some bad things.
I mean, he shows up and he immediately assumes control, and everyone's like, who the hell is this guy? And we're always have Anduin around, and he's so level-headed, and he's such a great kid. I mean, he's also another one that's had such amazing character progression. And even
I remember him as a kid.
Yeah, even
Anixia standing right goddamn next to him.
Right next to him.
Even now in Myst, where he works with Rathian, and it's just amazing to see how intelligent and level-minded this child is as he grows up.
Yeah, he had. Well, you think about Jaina Pradmore's influence on him as well. She always knew there was something special.
She was his
with this
auntie.
kid. Yeah, his auntie.
Yeah.
What book is it? Where like she visits him and I think it's actually
It's from that author Golden. I know it's like
there's
it's
this book where he's a little kid and all that, and she like pops up and he's like, Auntie Proudmore, and like runs up to her and she's like, I got you a gift. It's a Hearthstone.
Yeah. Yep, I remember.
You can use it to just travel to my house anytime you want. If you ever need to get out of being a king for a while.
Now let's take this around the table. Like, who is your favorite character in World of Warcraft, and why? Blue, let's start with you.
Everyone knows my favorite
I know,
character.
but that's all I want to hear.
Sylvanas.
Great
Mistress of the Dead.
She's a great choice.
The undead are my people, and I love them so much, and she is the best leader they could ever hope to have. Primarily because when Garrosh came into power, there's a particular quest line with the undead where literally, this is dialogue in the game, verbal dialogue, he straight up calls her a bitch for disobeying him.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like,
You did not just say that.
because, and most people hate the undead in post Cataclysm because they're like invading the Worgen
I assume
homes.
after the Wrathgate experience too.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about like people in the world. I'm talking about like players that I've known. They're being horrible. They're taking over all of the Worgen's home, and I'm like, they're separate factions that are at a constant war, and the undead are expanding.
That was
They
interesting.
need more location.
Gilneas is pretty much right on top of
that's
Undercity,
what and that's what I thought was so cool. Is like when you make a Worgen, you see that the Horde even have their divisions inside. They're starting to show their colors, especially since the Tauren leader he got killed and he was such a great leader, and
He was.
him taken off.
They killed
Great
him.
character.
Vol'jin was made billion times more badass with the arrival of Garrosh. Because before that, he's the leader of the trolls, man.
Yeah.
But now he's like, the Horde be my people.
I know. He finally gets some backstory.
Yeah.
You don't know much about the trolls, other than they're this ancient race of beings that were around when the elves were like the top tier of the world.
They're ancient. Yeah, they've been around.
The trolls are almost as ancient as the elves.
They're like the equivalent of the Aztecs, pretty much.
But yeah, Sylvanas is mine because out of all the leaders of the Horde, she was the one to like most openly defy Garrosh being a dick. So,
You gotta respect someone
other than Karen.
define.
oh yeah, Karen. Although
I would
Karen's
say all of them defied him in a way. at
she
least.
more openly just like
except
he's
really-
like, don't do this. She's like, I'm going to do this.
It seemed like,
Yeah, I'm going to.
and it seemed
You
like,
can't tell me no.
and it seemed like Karen was trying to teach him a lesson, like trying to improve him as a leader, because he
He
knew.
wanted to. I mean, he was willing to fight to the death to defend the way of the Horde, the original way of the Horde. And I mean, even though, really, it wasn't Garrosh who killed him.
It was Magara.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, she poisoned his blade, and I mean, realistically, it was just one hit. I mean, the battle could have gone on.
Yeah.
But because it was poison, I mean, he had granted, Garrosh, really turned on her after that, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, he really.
That was his one redeeming thing,
Yeah,
but they didn't do anything else after that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Garrosh really represents the time of the Horde that is ancient. It's back like the old orcs. So he's not the modern.
He started off as that warrior trying to prove himself, and now he's almost reverted to the way his father was.
You see, because one of my favorite relationships is between Garrosh, Hellscream, and Eitrigg. Eitrigg is one of my favorite characters. He's probably my second favorite character because I just love
I
his...
take it it's your turn now. Please go on.
I didn't want to say that, but alright. Should I just say who my favorite is?
Yeah, just go for it.
My favorite's Medivh. I absolutely love
That's
Medivh.
pretty much pulling that old school, too.
Yeah,
you really
seriously.
don't hear anything about him anymore.
Seriously, and I wish he
Except
did.
for if you run through Karazhan again and
I
end up
know.
in his bedroom and you're like, what?
Yeah, Karazhan was my favorite raid. I have so many great memories of Karazhan. But, Medivh was just this interesting character because those of you who don't know, he was a guardian of Tirisfal, where, the mages give all of this power to one individual to fight.
He's the old man who helps Thrall and everybody in Warcraft 3.
And he has to fight a war against the Burning Legion. So his mother fought against Sargeras and nearly killed him, but it turned out his spirit got with him.
I believe you see him if you run through that one portal quest, Black Morass, the swamp one.
Really, he's there.
I believe he's the one there that's holding the portal, isn't he? That ends up closing it at the end of the dungeon.
It's been so long, I can't remember.
I could have swore it was him because I always remember thinking, how the hell do you spell that?
But
how do you pronounce this shit?
But yeah, he's this interesting character that he's got two personalities within himself. He's got Sargeras and he's got Medivh, and they both accept what the other wants. They both know what the overall plan has to be, but Medivh is unwilling to let Sargeras get away with this. And so Medivh goes on and makes the portals and gets the orcs into Azeroth. And Medivh is always in the background, and he's always trying to fight back. It's not until later on where he really can.
Yeah.
And he's just this really tortured soul that should be so much more powerful than he really is.
It's actually a shame that they've backburnered him so much. You never hear about him anymore.
Yeah, because did Medan ever show up in the storyline for the game?
I don't think so.
His the next one, the next Medivh.
No, that's his son.
Yeah,
because,
that's what I mean. The next in line.
Yeah. Because
they might bring him around in Draenor. I mean, there's so much they can do with warlords of Draenor.
I hope so, because his son was even more badass, because he was part paladin, part shaman. So he used the light and shamanistic powers in a way that they combined together, and it was really cool.
I don't know if she's ever made an appearance in the games or anything, but in the lore, if the books are considered canonical, which I think they are,
they should be.
They're paid by Blizzard
Yeah.
to write these things.
Yeah, because
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah.
Medivh's mother is still alive, and she is why Lady Proudmoore is so powerful, because she in the first World of Warcraft book that I have, it's about Proudmoore and the conflict between Theramore's civilians and the orcs, because they live right next to each other. They're there's the tension there still, even though she was on this side of peace. There's still tension, and how the dark cultists are pushing for war, and whispering to everybody.
That after Cataclysm, you saw the dark cultists a lot, but after that, you really never got any kind of closure to them.
They kind of disappeared.
Because
the
Eye of Eternity, and then everything just kind of disappears.
Because in that storyline, from what I read, Medan was the one that had to stop their leader, the dark cultist leader, and when he stopped that, it seemed like the cultists
they had this really half-assed raid in the Eye of Eternity, and after that, you just never hear or see anything from them again. All of Cataclysm's raids were really half-assed.
Yeah.
None of them had... It felt like they were a side story, but you never got any actual
The
story
only
out of
one
them.
I loved from Cataclysm was Gold Mines. And that's because I have such fond memories of Gold Mine, and I'm they made it important again.
That was so fun.
Wow.
But earlier, what I was saying, one relationship I love is between Eitrig, this old orc, and Garrosh Hellscream, because Eitrig fought in the old orc wars against the humans.
He's probably the oldest orc in game, with the exception of Sourfang.
And all of the horde leaders
go to him.
All the horde leaders go to him for advice. I know the Taurens did, and the orcs did as well. And it's this interesting relationship between the fathers who fought in these old wars and the sons who feel like it's their duty to do it again. It's like World War I, World War II.
Yeah.
And they don't know the first thing about what they're fighting for. Only their fathers fought for it, and so
they were fighting, so we have to fight.
So we have to fight as well, even though it's not even worth fighting for.
There's hardly a war anymore.
And it's just
especially with the introduction of the Pandaren.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're their complete own continent. Their whole story is completely separate.
I do love that. That's the funniest thing when I was playing Mists of Pandaria. The whole funniest thing is we found this island, we will take it, and both arrive, and I'm you, and they start fighting, and then the Pandarian are guys, we were here first.
Yeah, we literally live here.
Yeah.
You get there, and eventually you're just oh, we can't have this land.
Not anymore.
But yes, what is your favorite?
What's yours, Faison?
It's so hard to choose.
I want to guess it's the Worgen.
And I've been wanting Worgen ever since I started playing WoW, but I can honestly say that there's probably no Worgen character that can really...
Oh, what's his name? Not Greymane, the general below Greymane, who's voiced by the guy who was the werewolf in Harry Potter. I can't remember his name,
the guy that died?
Oh, the guy with the eye patch.
Oh, no.
That wasn't King Greymane, was it?
No, that was...
he did the voice actor for that
I'm pretty
guy?
sure it's the same exact guy.
Wow. I just remember him going, Lorna! No, I can honestly say, as much as I love the Worgen, I don't think there's a single Worgen character that I really, really enjoy. I love most of the Horde leaders. Sylvanas, of course, is amazing. Cairn was my favorite for a long time.
He's died.
Yeah, but he's done for. His son Bane is...
He's so cool.
His son Bane has really stepped it up.
He's BFFs with Anduin.
Yeah.
They go to birthday parties.
Total BFFs. I love that.
He's really stepped it up. He's become a really fascinating character. Thrall, of course, Thrall is amazing.
Although, can Thrall technically still be considered a Horde? Because he's now a world leader.
I don't think you never played the raid with Garrosh. He's going back to the Horde.
Okay, that's good.
He's going back to the Horde, but he says that he doesn't feel that he can still be leader of the Horde. That's why he gave it to Vol'jin.
Mm-hmm.
So Vol'jin is now the leader of the Horde.
Oh, that makes sense now.
Yeah, he's now the
That's really cool because now the trolls have a big place in the world.
Yeah, and so I love Thrall. I love his character progression. I love Vol'jin. I mean, he was
nothing, and then he immediately became the coolest ever.
He was because he's so wise. He
just kept quiet.
He always was the one to just stick back and he just watched everything.
Which is very uncharacteristic for the trolls in that universe, because the trolls in that universe are like wild and vicious.
Yeah, but he believed that everyone should learn why they are the way they are. Mm-hmm. He didn't believe in swaying somebody, which was amazing. And I mean, going throughout Mists of Pandaria...
One of the reasons his group has probably survived so long.
Yeah, most of going through Mists of Pandaria, you get to see his the way he works and how just incredibly wise and compassionate he is. He's incredibly compassionate.
You gotta figure, I mean, if you're gonna pick anybody to lead the Horde, that's probably your best choice, because he's the most unspoken of them all, and it works to his advantage, and he's the wisest.
The more you go about it and the more you look at it, I mean, he really is brilliant. I mean, he thinks everything through so thoroughly. But he's compassionate to both sides. He understands why the Alliance does what it does, but he doesn't like the way Varian does business, which I think most of us don't.
It's like Garrosh. He doesn't like Garrosh because Garrosh is mindlessly fighting, and he's like, you don't have a reason to do this. It's like, if anybody has the most reason to hate people and everybody on the Alliance, it's the trolls.
Yeah.
And that's
but we don't hate them.
And what's interesting, too, is like Garrosh and Varian have so much in common.
Yeah, they do, which is almost scary. And so it makes me wonder the future for Varian.
Well, Varian, I think his future was always kind of clouded ever since he became Logosh.
Yeah.
He's this tormented guy, after losing his wife, it just changed everything within him.
I would say, I will say, I think my favorite character still might be Illidan Stormrage.
Yes.
Yeah,
because he is...
Especially, have you read the books about the past? Oh, it's...
Actually, they have the dungeon that's the past, too. It's so amazing. His character...
Oh, yeah.
His character is like that traditional character that, like, you watch him grow and you watch him fall. And then you see the aftermath. And
very similar to the Lich King.
Even when you... Yeah, very much so. But except his is a lot more sympathetic because he really did lose everything.
He did.
He lost everything to his brother. He lost everything to his people. He was thrown out.
Illidan likely wouldn't have gone so crazy if he wasn't built up to be this like savior of magic, because he was like built. Everyone in his time is like, you are a god, and he's like, eventually, I am a god.
He loved Tyrande so much.
Oh yeah.
And he loved her so much, and he knew that he just couldn't hold a candle to his brother, and it was just so tragic just to watch him try so hard, and the only reason he absorbed that kind of dark magic, the reason he
was
used
to try and like infiltrate and destroy the demons.
Yeah, he wanted so badly to save everyone, to save his people, and to impress her, and he still had the kind of I mean, he was ambitious, he was greedy, but he was a good guy, and
he's the classic tragic figure. I mean,
yeah,
Arthas...
He was the tragic figure.
I would say the fall of Arthas of Menethil, the Lich King, is like the story of Anakin Skywalker, except it's fucking better.
Yeah,
it's a better story. And,
Arthas was a great character too, but
yeah.
I think maybe it's because I feel so personally partial to the Night Elves, as well as the Tauren. I think I just share a lot of their belief systems, but maybe it's just because I'm so partial that I prefer Illidan over Arthas, but also maybe because Arthas, he descended into madness and violence much worse than Illidan, whereas Illidan became more of a solitary figure.
You see, I think I'd have to go with Arthas.
Personally, I like Arthas because if I were in Arthas's shoes, I would have done the same thing. After all this crap had happened, I'm like, I'm just going to go sit around for a couple thousand.
Yeah.
I'm going to get frozen to my throne.
Sit up here thinking so long that I get frozen to the throne. And then I'm like, all right, I've done my thinking.
Yeah.
Come get me.
But yeah.
Arthas' his madness was just what really...
When Arthas fell, he hard.
He cared so much.
It wasn't a descent like Illidan had. Illidan had like a tumble. Arthas, he took like the rocket ship to hell.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why it's almost like that's why you can't
and
say
with
it's like Anakin Invader.
With Illidan, you think there's like more of a redemption that he could attain.
Yeah.
With Arthas, it's like there's no possible way you're going to stop. You've gotten this mindset where my people are safe if they are undead.
Yeah,
but you always have this.
By the time you reach Illidan, you still have that little glimmer.
There's still that bit like you can let it go.
And it's almost when you do kill him, it's almost like he knows it and he sees it. He unlike Arthas,
it's like he wants it.
Where Arthas has to be pulled back by his father. Illidan, did I say farter?
His father. I think you said father.
His father.
His father.
Where Arthas has to be pulled back by down to earth by his father. Illidan knows it all along. He knows where he messed up. He knows that basically it got to the point where he couldn't turn back, and this is what he's become.
Yeah.
I just want to hug him so bad.
I know you do. I get it on your face.
Just get an Illidan plushie and be like...
I just come here. Just come here.
You see, heroes and villains alike, Warcraft's got it all.
Yeah,
and you know what?
Warcraft really does the best
and
of
one
the best.
Storyline I thought was really interesting was just the whole story of the dragon aspects.
Yes.
And just in the creation of the world itself.
Because vanilla WoW, dragons were just like, I'm going to go kill a dragon because it's awesome. You get to like Cataclysm and you're like, I killed some of these.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There was a red one like right up there and I killed it.
Yeah, it really is a shame that they never got to be as important as they should have been.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of Cataclysm, there's a quest line in Twilight Highlands that you get to see just how painful it is for all of them that their numbers are dwindling and
it's they're really
everyone any one of them dies, it's absolutely devastating. And some of the emotion that you get from some of the voice actors in that part of it was just phenomenal.
I mean, you think about Alexstrasza. I mean, all the pain she had to go through. Because in the first war,
the aspect of life.
Yeah, because in the first war, she was chained up by the orcs, and they were just breeding her just to get dragons out of her and just to use them for war. And just to imagine if you're in her shoes, just watching your children being used to kill when they're not. They're used to protect.
Unfortunately, we've gone over again.
Oh boy, we could have gone hours, like you said.
I told you. I said when I suggested we should do a podcast. I said I have a topic that we can talk about for hours.
I thought it was teenage. I thought it was the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No, I could talk about that for hours too. But I think this is definitely a subject that should probably be put also back in the hat for a podcast.
Yes, eventually.
We're gonna have to talk about their
further down the line.
Yeah, further down the line.
New movie next time.
Obviously, we're madly in love with this
much
still.
we can talk about. It's so good. I'm going to go home and read books and play Warcraft 3 and think about maybe getting my subscription back now that I have money.
Chris and I have been talking about the same thing, so we'll see how.
Funny enough, I just lost my job and I still play WoW. It's like the one thing I
am
can't
so
let
tempted
go.
because I now have money, so I'm like, I can start playing
You
again.
can
But
start
the thing
playing.
is, last month when I didn't have money, I finally caved and I'm like, you know what? I can use the 50 gigabytes on my computer again.
To be honest with
the
you,
game.
I'd probably get in that game than see Ashen Vale Forest and start bawling like a baby.
Yeah.
Just like all those old memories.
I have the soundtracks. I listen to them
Yeah,
all the time.
I have them
Yeah.
too. Whenever they come on, like my absolute favorite one is from
Grizzly Hills.
Yeah, it's
That's
actually
a
but it's the music that's also in the Grizzly Hills, and it's my favorite area. It's my favorite music. It's very rustic. It's very northern.
My favorite was Nagrand in Outland.
I used my.
I would say that Grizzly Hills is probably the next Nagrand.
It pretty much
and
is.
it kind of even improves upon it by being even more. It's very lumberjacky.
It is.
And
It made me always think of
Seriously.
Sly 2, Band of Thieves, when you go up
Yeah.
to fight Jean Besson. I'm like,
exactly. It's very lumberjacky, and then you got the group of werewolves that live there, or the Worgen. And
Dude, it's like Click Clock Wood in Banjo-Kazooie.
yes, Snow version, Click Clock Wood.
Yes, it's the same thing.
pretty much. So there
This
we
is gonna go back in the hat.
Yes. All right. So this is.
This has been the third Geek
Yeah.
Horizons podcast, where we occasionally reach 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And stop.
A little
Most of the
over.
time go
Unless we
over.
throw something very passionate into that.
And they're all passionate.
Yeah, so far they've all been amazing.
Yes.
So join us again.
Join us next time.
We got our respective YouTube channels as well as GameGal.net, where Geek Horizons finds its home.
I've been Blue.
I've been Aaron S.
And Faison. And peace out.